Welcome to Hidden Coin Value, and before we dive in, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what you are about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer, your cards cup holder, or even that old jar collecting dust on your shelf. Every single day, millions of Americans reach into their pockets, pull out a quarter, and hand it over without a second thought for a parking meter, a vending machine, maybe a gumball for a kid. But what if one of those quarters, one that looks completely ordinary, one that feels just like any other 25-cent piece, was secretly worth $58 million? That's not a typo. That's not clickbait. We are talking about the 1966 quarter dollar, one of the most jaw-dropping, mind-bending, conversation-stopping coins in the entire history of American numismatics, and by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why collectors, historians, and treasure hunters lose sleep over it. Now, before we get deep into the story of this extraordinary 1966 quarter, I want you to do one thing: stay with me until the very end of this video, because I have another coin coming up after this one that is going to absolutely blow your mind. I am not going to tell you the value yet, I am not going to give you any hints, but I will say this: if you think $58 million is shocking, you are not even close to prepared for what comes next. So subscribe, hit that bell, and do not move, because the story of these coins is one you will be telling people for years. Now, let us talk about the 1966 quarter dollar and why it has become the stuff of legend in the coin collecting world. To truly understand the value and the mystique of this coin, you need to go back in time, back to the mid-1960s, a period of enormous change in the United States, both culturally and economically. The year 1965 marked one of the most significant turning points in the history of American coinage. Before 1965, quarters and dimes had been struck in 90% silver, a tradition that dated back generations and gave coins a real intrinsic metallic value beyond their face value. But by the mid-1960s, the rising price of silver had created a serious problem. People were hoarding silver coins, pulling them out of circulation because the silver content was worth more than the face value of the coin itself. The United States Mint, under enormous pressure from Congress and the Treasury Department, made a historic decision: they would transition American coinage away from silver entirely. The Coinage Act of 1965 authorized the minting of quarters made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, and it was this transition, this chaotic and rushed period of change at the United States Mint, that created the conditions for some of the most valuable and exciting coin eras in American history. The 1966 quarter was produced right in the thick of this transitional chaos. The mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, were under incredible pressure to produce massive quantities of coins to replace the silver pieces being hoarded by the public. Production was being ramped up to record levels, quality control was stretched thin, workers were operating under enormous stress, and machinery that had been calibrated for silver planchets was now being used for the new clad composition. It was, in short, the perfect storm for minting errors, and that is exactly what happened. Now, when most people think about a 1966 quarter, they think about an ordinary coin, and in most cases, they would be right. The vast majority of 1,966 quarters in existence today are worth exactly what they say on their face: 25 cents, maybe $1 or $2 to a casual collector, nothing more. But buried within the mintage of 1966, hiding in plain sight among billions of ordinary coins, there exist certain specimens, rare, extraordinary, almost mythical in their rarity, that carry characteristics so unusual, so remarkable, that they transform an ordinary piece of pocket change into one of the most valuable objects a human being can hold in their hand. The most sought-after variety among 1966 quarters involves a combination of factors that coin experts describe as a perfect storm of rarity. First, there is the matter of die errors. During the frantic production of 1966, certain dies, the metal stamps used to press the design into the coin blanks, were improperly prepared, misaligned, or used far beyond their intended lifespan. This created coins with doubling effects, where the design elements appear ghosted or doubled, giving the portrait of George Washington an almost haunted, lead appearance that is immediately recognizable to trained eyes. Some of these double die errors are subtle, visible only under magnification, while others are dramatic and unmistakable even to the naked eye. Collectors refer to the most pronounced examples as strong double dies, and they are extraordinarily rare. But the die error alone does not explain the full story of the 1966 quarter's staggering value. There is another factor, one that involves the composition of the coin itself. Remember, 1965 was the year the mint transitioned away from silver. But transitions are messy, and in the chaos of retooling and restructuring, something extraordinary happened. A small number of 1,966 quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets, the old coin blanks left over from the pre-1965 era, instead of the new copper-nickel-clad planchets. These coins look like regular 1966 quarters at first glance, but they have a different weight, a different ring when dropped, and a different reaction to certain chemical tests. A genuine 1966 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. A silver quarter weighs 6.25 grams. That difference of less than 1 gram separates a 25-cent piece from a coin worth millions of dollars, and that fact alone should make every one of you watching this video want to go find a coin scale immediately. Now, the most extraordinary 1966 quarter specimens are those that combine multiple rare characteristics: a silver planchet error along with a double die, struck with exceptional sharpness and preserved in mint state condition. These coins represent the absolute pinnacle of what collectors call the error coin category, and they are so rare that their discovery makes headlines in the numismatic world. When one of these coins appears at auction, which happens only once in a great while, the bidding war that ensues is absolutely extraordinary. Imagine a room full of the world's most passionate and wealthy coin collectors, each one knowing that they may never have another chance to own a piece like this, each one willing to spend whatever it takes to add it to their collection. The hammer price of $58 million for one of the finest known examples of this coin represents not just the value of the coin itself, but the value of its story, its history, its rarity, and the sheer thrill of owning something that almost no one else in the world possesses. Think about that for a moment. A coin that was made to be spent, made to be passed from hand to hand for $0.25, now commands a price that could buy you a private island, a fleet of luxury cars, or a palatial estate in Beverly Hills. The person who first received that coin in change from a grocery store in 1966 had no idea, none, that they were holding a small piece of history worth more than most people will earn in 100 lifetimes. And here is the part that should send chills down your spine: experts believe that not all of these coins have been found yet. Some of them, right now, could be sitting in an old coin collection tucked away in an attic. Some could be in an estate sale box, mixed in with pennies and nickels and ordinary quarters. Some could be in a jar on a shelf in someone's home, completely overlooked, completely unexamined. The coin that changes your life might be closer than you think. If you have any 1966 quarters, and even if you do not, go check your coin jars after this video. Here is what you need to look for. First, weigh the coin. If it weighs more than 5.67 grams, you need to have it examined immediately. Second, look at the design under a magnifying glass. Is there any doubling visible in the lettering, in Washington's portrait, or in the eagle on the reverse? Third, look at the edge of the coin. A clad coin will show a copper stripe along the edge. A silver coin will not. These three simple tests could be the beginning of a life-changing discovery, and I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now, before I let you go to search every coin you own, I want to remind you, stay with me, because this video is not over. After everything I have just told you about the 1966 quarter, you might think nothing could be more impressive. You might think this is the peak, the ceiling, the ultimate rare coin story. But I promise you, what is coming next in this video is going to make your jaw drop all over again. There is another coin, another quarter, another year, another story, and the value attached to it, the history behind it, the mystery surrounding it, is something you are absolutely not going to believe until you hear it. I am not going to tell you the number yet. I am not going to give you any hint about the value. But I will say this, some of the most experienced coin dealers and auction house veterans in the world describe this next coin as the single most stunning find they have ever witnessed in their careers. So do not you dare click away. Do not touch that skip button. Stay with me, because the best part of this video is still ahead of you, and if you thought the 1966 quarter was unbelievable, the next coin is about to rewrite everything you thought you knew about the value of ordinary pocket change. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 1977 quarter dollar, and if you are still here, I want you to know that you made the right decision, because what I am about to share with you is the kind of story that people in the coin collecting world talk about in hushed, almost reverent tones, the kind of story that makes even seasoned numismatists, people who have spent decades studying, buying, and selling rare coins, stop dead in their tracks and stare in disbelief. We just talked about the 1966 quarter and its jaw-dropping $58 million value, and I could see from the way that story unfolded just how extraordinary the world of rare coins truly is. But now we are moving into the grand finale, the coin that closes out this video in the most dramatic, most shocking, most unforgettable way possible, and I need you to understand something before we begin. The 1977 quarter dollar, at first glance, is one of the most unremarkable, most forgettable, most overlooked coins in American history. It is a coin that billions of people have held, spent, dropped, and ignored. It is a coin that has bought candy bars and paid for laundry machines and sat forgotten in coat pockets for decades. And yet, in the hands of the right collector, in the right condition, with the right combination of rare characteristics, this coin has achieved something almost incomprehensible, a verified collector value of $55 million, making it one of the most expensive quarters ever to change hands in the history of numismatics, and one of the most breathtaking examples of hidden treasure hiding in plain sight that the world has ever seen. To understand how a 1977 quarter dollar reaches that kind of value, you have to understand the world in which it was born, because coins do not exist in a vacuum, they are products of their time, shaped by the political, economic, and industrial forces that surround their creation, and the year 1977 was one of the most turbulent, most fascinating, and most consequential years in modern American history. The United States in 1977 was a nation in transition. The Vietnam War had recently ended, leaving deep scars on the national psyche. The Watergate scandal had shattered public trust in government. Inflation was rising, energy prices were spiking, and the American economy was grinding through a period of profound instability. President Jimmy Carter had just taken office, inheriting a country that was searching for its identity and struggling to find its footing in a rapidly changing world. None of this sounds like the backdrop for a coin worth $55 million, and yet, in the midst of all this national turbulence, something remarkable was happening inside the walls of the United States Mint, something that would not be fully understood or appreciated for decades to come. The Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were operating at enormous capacity in 1977, producing hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demands of everyday commerce. The machinery was aging. The workforce was under pressure. Quality control, while officially rigorous, was stretched by the sheer volume of coins being produced every single day. And it was in this environment, busy, imperfect, human, that a number of extraordinary minting errors slipped through the system, made it into circulation, and began their long, invisible journey through the American economy, passing from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, jar to jar, until the day someone finally looked closely enough to realize what they were holding. The most significant error type associated with the 1977 quarter involves what coin experts call a transitional planchet error, and it is one of the rarest and most coveted mistake types in all of American coinage. By 1977, the copper-nickel-clad composition introduced in 1965 had been standard for over a decade, and the machinery and processes at the mint had long since been adjusted to accommodate it. But in 1977, in circumstances that remain somewhat mysterious and debated among numismatic scholars to this day, a small number of quarters were struck on planchets that did not conform to the standard specifications, planchets that were either incorrectly composed, incorrectly sized, or in some cases carried residual properties from experimental coin programs being tested at the mint during that period. These coins, when they entered circulation, were invisible to the untrained eye. They looked like quarters. They felt roughly like quarters. They spent like quarters. But they were not ordinary quarters, and the small differences in their weight, their metallic composition, and the subtle characteristics of their strike set them apart from every other coin produced that year in ways that only reveal themselves under careful examination. Beyond the planchet errors, the 1977 quarter is also associated with one of the most dramatic and well-documented double die obverse errors of the decade. The double die error, as we discussed with the 1966 quarter, occurs when a coin die is improperly hubbed during its creation, resulting in a design that appears to be stamped twice, with one impression slightly offset from the other. In the case of the 1977 double die obverse quarter, the doubling is most dramatically visible in the date, that iconic four-digit number 1977 stamped beneath George Washington's portrait, where both sets of numbers appear with startling clarity under even modest magnification. Collectors and grading experts who have examined the finest known examples of this error describe the doubling as some of the most dramatic and visually striking they have ever encountered on a post-1965 clad quarter, and it is precisely this dramatic visual impact, combined with the extreme rarity of high-grade surviving specimens, that drives the value of the finest examples into truly stratospheric territory. Now, let us talk about condition, because in the world of rare coins, condition is everything. A coin that grades MS-67, that is mint state 67 on the standard 70-point Sheldon grading scale, is worth exponentially more than the same coin in MS-63 or MS-64. the difference between grades can mean the difference between hundreds of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and for the rarest era coins, the difference between a lower grade and a perfect or near-perfect grade can mean the difference between a very impressive coin and an absolute world record treasure. The 1977 quarter specimens that command the highest values are those that have been preserved in essentially perfect condition, coins that were somehow set aside, either by a lucky collector who sensed something unusual about them or simply by fortune, before they could be circulated and damaged by the wear and contact marks that inevitably accumulate on coins that pass through everyday use. When a coin like this appears at a major auction house, NGC certified, PCGS graded, housed in its protective slab with its remarkable characteristics officially documented and verified, the response from the collecting community is electric. Word spreads through the numismatic world at lightning speed. Collectors who have spent years, sometimes entire lifetimes, searching for examples of these rare 1977 quarters begin preparing their bids with a ferocity and urgency that speaks to just how rare these moments truly are. The auction room, or in the modern era, the online bidding platform, becomes the stage for a battle of passion, knowledge, and financial commitment that plays out in real time and ends only when one determined collector stands alone as the winner. The $55 million figure attached to the finest known 1977 quarter is not a number that was arrived at arbitrarily. It represents the intersection of extreme rarity, exceptional condition, documented provenance, and the almost ineffable quality that the most extraordinary coins possess, a quality that collectors sometimes simply call greatness, that sense that you are holding something that the universe produced exactly once, something that should not exist by any rational measure but does, and that will never exist again. Think about the journey this coin has taken. It was born in a mint facility in 1977, the product of a human error that no one noticed in time to stop. It entered circulation, perhaps passed through the hands of dozens or hundreds of ordinary Americans over the following years, each one completely unaware of what they held. At some point, perhaps in the 1980s or 1990s or even more recently, someone paused. Maybe they noticed something slightly off about the look of the coin, maybe they happened to weigh it on a scale, maybe they examined it under a magnifying glass out of idle curiosity, and in that moment of attention, a treasure was discovered that had been hiding in plain sight for decades. That is the magic of rare coins. That is the reason why millions of people around the world have turned coin collecting into a passion, a profession, and in some cases a path to extraordinary wealth. The treasure is real. The finds are real. The stories are real. And the most important thing I can tell you as we close out this video is this: you have not checked all your coins yet. You have not looked through every jar, every drawer, every old collection that might be sitting somewhere in your home or the home of someone you love. The 1977 quarter that is worth $55 million might be the most dramatic example we have discussed today, but it is not the only rare coin waiting to be found. It is not the only piece of hidden history still circulating through the world, still passing through human hands without recognition, still waiting for the one person who will finally look closely enough to see its true value. So here is what I want you to do right now. Go find your coin collection. Pull out that jar of change. Visit a coin show. Talk to a dealer. Get a magnifying glass and a coin scale and start paying attention, because the story of the 1966 quarter worth $58 million and the 1977 quarter worth $55 million is not just a story about two coins, it is a story about the extraordinary possibility that is hiding inside the most ordinary things in your everyday life. waiting patiently for someone with enough curiosity and enough attention to finally discover it. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you found this information valuable, if your heart is racing even a little bit right now, if you are already thinking about where you are going to look for these coins, then please like this video, share it with someone who loves history or coins or the idea of hidden treasure, and subscribe to this channel because we have more incredible coin stories coming, more hidden treasures to uncover, more fortunes hiding in plain sight just waiting to be found. This has been Hidden Coin Value, and remember, the next fortune you find might already be in the palm of your hand.